I'm Savannah. The boardroom fell into a stunned silence as I placed my new business card in front of my father, Henry Thompson, the former CEO of Thompson Enterprises. His face flushed with a mix of shock and anger, and I could almost hear the gears in his mind grinding to a halt. "Savannah, what on earth do you think you're doing? Get back to your place," he sputtered, his voice trembling with disbelief. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest, but my voice remained steady. "I am in my place, Dad. The place I earned when I acquired 51% of Thompson Enterprises shares." The room erupted in chaos. Board members jumped to their feet, papers flew everywhere, and my father's face turned an alarming shade of purple. One of the board members, Mr. Harris, shouted, "This is preposterous. Henry, control your daughter." I held up my hand, signaling for calm. "Before anyone says something they might regret, I suggest you all review the documents in front of you. My ownership is legal and binding. I control the majority of shares through various holding companies, shares that you, Dad, and you, Mr. Harris, were planning to sell to our biggest competitor, Global Industries." My father sank into his chair, all the color draining from his face. How did I know about the deal? I was in the room when you discussed it. Secretaries are invisible, remember?" I replied, a small smile playing on my lips. "How did I acquire the shares? With careful planning, strategic investments, and the business acumen you never believed I possessed." Mr. Harris sputtered, "This is impossible. The purchase records would have shown a series of separate investments by seemingly unrelated entities." I finished for him. "The same kind of complex financial maneuver you dismissed me as too simple to understand when I suggested modernizing our investment strategies last year." I connected my laptop to the presentation screen, bringing up detailed financial projections. "Now, shall we discuss the future of Thompson Enterprises?" As I laid out my vision for the company over the next hour, new manufacturing technologies, expanded market opportunities, and strategic partnerships I had already begun developing, the resistance in the room gradually shifted to reluctant admiration. One board member finally spoke up. "These proposals are actually quite sound." "Of course they are," I replied. "I've spent 3 years studying this company from the inside, learning its strengths and weaknesses. While you saw a secretary taking notes, I was developing solutions to problems you hadn't even recognized yet." My father hadn't spoken since my revelation. He sat there, staring at my business card, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Why go through all this deception? Why not just tell me your ideas? Would you have listened? I turned to face him directly. 3 years ago, I graduated from Stanford Business School with an MBA and a vision for modernizing Thompson Enterprises. You laughed at me and offered me a job as your secretary. When I tried to contribute in meetings, you told me to stick to taking notes. Even now, you were ready to sell your shares to our biggest competitor rather than consider that your daughter might be capable of leading this company. The truth of my words hung heavy in the room. Some board members had the grace to look embarrassed. "Mr. Harris demanded, what happens now? You can't seriously expect to run this company." "Actually, that's exactly what I expect," I said, distributing another set of documents. "These are restructuring papers. Dad, you have 2 options. You can fight this, waste time and resources on legal battles you'll ultimately lose, or you can accept a position as an advisory director, lending your experience to the new direction of Thompson Enterprises." I turned to Mr. Harris. "You, Mr. Harris, have only one option: resignation, effective immediately. Your resistance to innovation and modernization has cost this company millions. That ends today." Mr. Harris stood up, his face red with fury. "You ungrateful little..." "Choose your next words carefully." I cut him off. "Remember, I'm no longer your secretary. I'm your boss." He stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. My father was still staring at my business card. "All this time, I thought you were just a secretary. Consider this a lesson, Dad. Never underestimate someone just because they serve you coffee," I said. The meeting concluded with most board members pledging their support to my leadership. As people filed out, my father remained seated. The advisory director position, you're really offering that? He asked quietly.
Yes.
Despite everything, you have valuable experience. I'm willing to overlook the past if you're willing to accept that your daughter is now your boss, I replied. He nodded slowly, a mix of emotions crossing his face, shame, pride, and something like respect. I suppose I should clean out my office. No need, I smiled. I'm having a new one prepared. The CEO's office needs updating for the 21st century. It all started 3 years ago. I graduated from Stanford Business School with an MBA, full of ideas and enthusiasm to modernize Thomson Enterprises, a company founded by my grandfather and a leader in industrial manufacturing for decades. But under my father's leadership, it had become stagnant, clinging to outdated methods and missing opportunities in emerging markets. When I approached my father with my ideas, he laughed and patted my head like I was a child. Business isn't like school, Savannah. The real world is different. Why don't you start by learning how the company works from the ground up? His idea of learning the business was offering me a job as his secretary. It's perfect, he explained. You'll see how everything operates, learn to handle administrative tasks, and maybe in a few years, we can talk about a junior management position. I wanted to argue, to point out that I had graduated top of my class, completed 3 internships at major corporations, and understood modern business practices better than half his board. But I saw an opportunity. Sometimes the best way to understand a system is from the inside.
Thank you, Dad.
That's very generous, I said meekly. He looked pleased with himself, probably thinking he had successfully put his overambitious daughter in her place. Little did he know he had just handed me the perfect position to observe everything wrong with his company. From my desk outside his office, I watched. I saw the missed opportunities, the wasteful spending, and the resistance to innovation. I witnessed the old boys club in action, making decisions based on personal relationships rather than business sense. Most importantly, I saw the company's stock price steadily declining as competitors embraced new technologies in the market. My father didn't notice me studying financial reports after hours or spending my lunch breaks analyzing market trends. He didn't realize that his secretary was building relationships with key shareholders, many of whom shared my concerns about the company's direction. Then came the moment that changed everything. During a private conversation I wasn't supposed to overhear, my father and Mr. Harris discussed selling their shares to Global Industries. The offer's good, Henry, Mr. Harris said. We're not getting any younger, and the company's value isn't going up. Maybe it's time to cash out. But what about Savannah? My father asked. I always thought she'd inherit my share someday. Mr. Harris laughed. Come on, Henry. You've seen her here. Smart girl, but she's not cut out for this business. She's happy being a secretary. The money from this sale would set her up for life. She'd never have to work again. My father sighed. You're right. She's not ready for this responsibility. Never will be, probably. Better to sell while we can get a good price. That night, I made some calls. The next morning, I emptied my trust fund and leveraged every connection I had made over the past year. 2 weeks later, working through a series of shell companies and investment firms, I began quietly buying shares. My father and the board were so focused on their potential deal with Global Industries that they didn't notice the steady accumulation of stock by seemingly unrelated entities. By the time they realized someone was making a play for control, it was too late. I gained my 51% majority 1 week before they planned to announce the Global Industries deal. Now, as I sit in my new office, formerly my father's, looking out at the city lights, I can't help but smile. The headlines in the evening papers were everything I'd hoped for. Thomson Enterprises announces new CEO, hidden heiress, how a secretary became CEO, Thomson's daughter engineers brilliant takeover. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Your grandmother would be proud. She always said you were the smartest, Thomson. I should have listened. I smiled, remembering my grandmother's words before she passed. Savannah, dear, sometimes you have to let them underestimate you. That's when you can do your best work. The next morning, I arrived at work wearing another power suit, striding through the main entrance as employees scrambled to adjust to the new reality. The security guard saluted me. My father was waiting in his new office, smaller but with a nice view. "Good morning, Savannah. I mean, MS.
Thompson, he said.
"Dad will do fine," I replied, handing him a stack of reports. "I need your insights on these expansion proposals. That is, if you're ready to work for your daughter." He took the reports, a small smile playing at his lips. "You know, I always wanted you to take over the company someday. I just never imagined it would happen quite like this." "That's because you were looking for a copy of yourself," I replied. "Instead, you got someone who learned to play the game her own way." As I walked to my morning executive meeting, my first as the official CEO, I passed my old desk. The nameplate, MS. Savannah, executive secretary, was still there. I picked it up, smiling at the memory of all those hours spent quietly building my empire while everyone looked right through me. I placed the nameplate in my bag. It would look perfect on my office shelf, next to my Stanford MBA and the new Thomson Enterprises logo I had designed, a phoenix rising from its own shadows. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them underestimate you until the moment you prove yourself right.